Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hello, it's Mike. Welcome to the show called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's been a busy week, a busy Sunday. Hey, how you been? It's been good because I think I will win a little pony if I keep doing podcasts, daily podcasts every day. Let's see how long it lasts. I had a lot of downloads of Mike's Daily Podcast this past week.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
From Podomatic. Apparently you can listen to this just about anywhere through Podomatic.
Mike's
which I've been using
Daily
for 12
Podcast
years now. Wow.
Yeah!
Yes. So, perhaps you are listening to me through that. At any rate, in any case, this show today is going to be dedicated to everybody out there who has worn a mask. We all wear masks in public. Sometimes the sight of several people in a room forces us to put on a mask so that we're able to deal with the pressures of being in society. But then, of course, we have our masks, the little things that go over our faces, our mouths. Make sure to cover your nose. That go over our mouths to protect us in this time of pandemic. So, my point is, don't take the mask and throw it on the ground. I don't know what it is, but yesterday I was walking through Podcastro Valley on my way to picking up my car because I had an issue where the brakes with Hondas, they got this thing where when your brake pads are wearing down, they have this high-pitched screaming sound. It's basically something scraping that tells you, hey, your pads are almost out. And it scrapes and scrapes, it gets louder and louder and it does not go away.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Initially, you can make it go away if you step on the brakes and somehow it makes it stop. But at some point, it just keeps getting louder and louder, and then you're forced to do something, or you go insane while you're driving. The podcast picture today is of Rodler the cat, our feral cat that has become oh so friendly and kind. Although we notice not around other people. I know Basil the Boxer would definitely not get along with Rodler, the late great Basil the Boxer. Oh, yes. Well, that's entirely reasonable. But yes, Rodler's to my lovely lady friend and I, a very kind and warm, cuddly cat. But when other people show up, he's like, what's going on? I'm out of here. And that's typical cat, I think. That's why some people don't like cats. Because at least a dog will be kind and jump on you and be cool, and you can throw the ball to him and he brings it back, maybe. I don't know. But the point is that people wear masks, and you should, at any rate, in my opinion, wear a mask. Be careful out there. Well, if you're out in the open, I think it's kind of ridiculous. If you're in your car by yourself driving along, I think it's ridiculous to be wearing a mask. These sort of things, I think, are a little overboard. I remember back in February of this year, so now I think February vaccines were starting to be doled out, and I was driving along with my lovely lady friend on the beautiful coastal highways that go along the cliffs there. As you're driving north, to your left is the Pacific Ocean. And this is north of San Francisco. So we're heading towards Stinson Beach. And it's a beautiful, windy road. You're out in the open. And I see a guy going the other direction in his car with a mask on. I'm like, dude, you are just that's a waste of, unless you really enjoy wearing the mask on your face. Some people just never think of taking them off, I guess. But that's overkill. But when you're in a restaurant and you're sitting down or in some kind of enclosed area, I'm not a CDC expert or spokesperson, but I will tell you, probably a good idea to keep wearing the mask at this point. People still getting infected. And I'm going to have to be really careful when I'm in Florida and in Texas in about a week and a half, I'm heading over there. At any rate, as I am walking over to get my car, because the brakes were out and I've just fixed it, and I'm walking over in Podcaster Valley to the mechanic, and I see at least 3 masks that have been discarded, just thrown on the ground. I threw it on the ground, as Andy Samberg said. And I hate that. And I've been seeing that since the pandemic started. It's ridiculous. It's irresponsible. Those masks don't biodegrade. They just sit there and get more and more stuff attached to them. They pick up stuff like a Swiffer, and they're dusty and disgusting and ooh. And why it's happening? I did a little search on the internet, and I realized that nobody is even talking about this, save for one person who wrote for Columbia Climate School, columbia.edu. And in a section called State of the Planet, this writer by the name of Annie Davis wrote, earlier this year in March, pandemic waste. I'm fed up with seeing it where it shouldn't be. Trash receptacles are ubiquitous in our modern age, yet currently they appear to be underused. If, instead of gloves and masks, it was batteries, plastic bottles, or nuclear waste haphazardly lying around, there would be a much stronger call to action. While serial litterers toss their used personal protective equipment, or PPEs, because they don't care, others drop it by accident or out of fear of coming into contact with the virus. Then, some try to discard their equipment safely and ecologically, but the reality is there is little or no public guidance on how to do so. I asked my family and friends how and where they should throw out their used equipment. Their most common answer, I'm not sure. What we know about what we don't know. A study in Poland found that nearly 3/4 of households did not know the correct disposal method for PPEs. Researchers attributed this to a deficiency of communication between residents, local government, and waste collection companies. This lack of communication and structure is hugely problematic for the environment and our own health and safety. To solve the PPE garbage crisis, institutional change within consumer disposal and municipal collection systems is required. Also, there must be a more widespread understanding about possible contagion. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Today, the last place on earth. While most of us can avoid handling discarded PPE, it's part of the job for others. If used protection equipment isn't being thrown away in secure separate bags, do exposed items pose a health risk to sanitation workers? Brazil's Ministry of Health established that waste from homes with suspected or confirmed COVID-19 cases should be treated as an infectious waste category. However, managing PPE outside of healthcare facilities in the same manner as medical waste is challenging, both logistically and financially. Cities are struggling to keep up with the increase in garbage and recycling due to the pandemic. Municipal COVID waste collection is not a feasible option. We must urge cities to explore alternative solutions in the private sector. The next step in lessening the environmental impact of PPEs is examining material reusability. Are there other options after collection besides burning or burying it? Throwing gloves and masks in with the recyclables might seem like a simple solution, but it's not quite so easy. Because, let me tell you, everyone I know says you can't throw those in the recycle bin. They have to go into the waste that goes out to the landfill. This person, Ann, says the good news is that single-use protection equipment not used for medical purposes can be recycled or repurposed. However, it is unlikely that your local collection company does it. Equally problematic is that most people don't know this, just like they're unaware that plastic grocery bags shouldn't go in the household recycling bin. Well, tough, I'm putting it in there anyway. What? Yes, I know, it's a different sort of plastic that can't be recycled. Ugh. And really, what is the proper plastic that can be recycled? And that gets to be really... Yes, that gets to be really annoying. Plastics, let's see. Well, I guess there is it is PP, polypropylene. PP is easily among the most popular plastic packaging materials in the world. Only around 1.3% is recycled in the U.S., which means most PP is headed for the landfill. Wow. Where it degrades slowly and takes about 20 to 30 years to completely decompose. All right, well, just want to say here and wrap up what she's saying is national messaging about how and when to wear masks, gloves, and face shields is abundant, but there just isn't enough public information on how to properly dispose of used PPE in the mainstream media. Instructions for disposal of special waste have been released for residents in cities such as Toronto, yet PPE garbage continues to accumulate. Posting on social media or city websites isn't enough. We need multiple mechanisms for the delivery and reinforcement of clear instructions to the public. Thankfully, solutions to our pandemic waste problem have begun to emerge. Companies such as TerraCycle and Kimberly-Clark are now transforming COVID protection items in ways traditional recycling systems cannot. The resulting recycled material is used to manufacture new products. And then, of course, it also says... takeaways. Pandemic waste, okay, that pretty much is the end. It says, back to my laundry room. Instead of shedding my mask of sanity right there in the laundry room, I reminded myself of the progress we've made over the past year. If nothing else, human beings are adaptable. Then I properly disposed of my gloves. Okay. Ann Carter Davis, who wrote that, is a sustainability management student at Columbia University. So this is like the only thing I have seen, even talking about it. And in plastics, like what is the most widely recycled plastic in the world is PET. PET. Nonetheless, despite being relatively easy plastic to recycle, some countries are still struggling to reach decent recycling rates. India, Europe, and South Korea all have rates higher than 50%, but countries like the US and China are yet to scale up those numbers. This according to plasticsforchange.org. The latest global statistics say that, let's see, there's a ton of statistics here. I'm not going to read that. But it says, plastic bottle you recycle today can become a cool t-shirt you will wear in a few months. Indeed, this recycling process involves transforming PET into flakes, which can then be spun as yarn. And then the yarn are then used to manufacture clothes and other textile garments. Alternatively, PET bottles can be recycled into PET bottles. In fact, they are made of one of the few polymers that can be recycled into the same form. A new beverage bottle. So I guess we're basically talking about beverage bottles. And some shampoo bottles. And it's PETs. There's HDPE. It's acceptable at most recycling centers in the world as it's one of the most easiest plastic polymers to recycle. It can be transparent or pigmented colored. Non-food application bottles, such as for detergent, motor oil, household cleaners, etc., and film packaging. On the other hand, pigmented PDE post-consumer recycled resins markets include pipe, lawn products, and non-food application bottles. It's also downcycled, a recycling practice that involves materials reused for lower value products into plastic lumber. I guess that's like those decks that look like lumber, but it's plastic instead. So that's supposed to last longer than your regular lumber. Can also be turned into tables, roadside curbs, benches, and other durable plastic products. PVC, that's plastic number 3, and is not recyclable in normal collections, it says here. Polyvinyl chloride. And then it goes on down the list where more stuff cannot be, like the infamous plastic bags. And that's LDPE. Technically, it can be recycled. However, just because something can be recycled doesn't mean it will be recycled. Plastic bags tend to tangle in recycled machinery, the recycling machinery, and that risks endangering the entire recycling process. In addition, this low-density polyethylene is a very cheap and low-quality plastic, making its recycling not really financially worthwhile. As a consequence, many municipalities won't accept number 4 plastics in curbside recycling bins. Despite these difficulties, when recycling, LDPE, low-density polyethylene, can be transformed into bin liners and packaging films. And then the last plastic type is PP, that can be recycled, is called polypropylene. While PP is easily among those popular plastic packaging materials in the world, only 1 to 3% is recycled in the US, which means most PP is headed for the landfill, where it degrades slowly and takes 20 to 30 years to completely decompose. That from plasticsforchange.com. So, a lot to consider in this world, and nobody considers it, it seems. People just waste stuff. It used to be, I'd look around, and the stuff that I'd seen just thrown on the ground carelessly was stuff that involved fast food or snack food or food you'd get at the liquor store or food that just is junk food. Those Slim Jims and whatnot. And candies, and fast food boxes for, any of the burger places, just thrown on the ground. Drinks, 7-Eleven cups and whatnot, just thrown on the ground. And I'd see that and go, oh, fast food not only is terrible for our bodies, but it's also terrible for just the environment. And yes, I mean the environment as in birds and the birds chirping and whatnot and the air we breathe and all that, but also just walking down the street and just seeing stuff on the ground, junk on the ground. Junk food is junk food in so many different ways. It's junk and it's food. It's terrible. Yeah, curmudgeon time. So we have to think about that, and it's something that I don't know too much about. But if you are in the industry to make the environment a better place, and I do know I have a cousin that's into that somewhere in Germany. So more power to all of you that are helping the environment and trying to make us think in a better way. And to all those people that just throw masks on the ground, stop it. It's the same as... Now, I haven't seen too much of this lately. I used to see a lot more of it, but people that would smoke cigarettes would just throw it on the ground. And there was this big, huge campaign with Smokey the Bear and everybody else to try and stop that. And depending on where you are in the country, it's either worked or not worked. But man, that used to just annoy me. And it's a hazard here in California as I look outside yet again, second day in a row, looking up at the sky and seeing smoke in the air. So that is definitely not good for that I'm seeing up in the sky. But here we are outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. The last podcast picture had the wonderful, beautiful view of Lake Monroe in Florida. And I'm going to go see my mom in Florida in about a week and a half. And I'm thinking I might want to go back there to Lake Monroe. It was so beautiful. But we don't have too much time with her, so I think we're going to be spending a lot of it at the beach. We'll see. There is a German restaurant near Lake Monroe that is unbelievable. It's so much fun, and I want to go there and eat as much food as possible. But yes, we'll see if that happens. If it does, I will definitely share podcast pictures of it at mikesdailypodcast.com. But look, who's here?
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. Hey, we got a lot of masks that you can buy and throw on the ground.
Chely?
What?
Chely?
Uh-huh.
Chely?
Yeah.
Chely?
Uh-huh.
Chely, are you serious?
No, just kidding.
Okay, look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman! And this is John Deere, the engineer. Geez, Mike, can't you take a joke? No. I guess I can. What a interesting laugh our John Deere, the engineer, has. Hey, next show it's going to be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Chime in, tell me what you think about any of this. 336mm daily. 3 plus 3 equals 6mm is in Mike Matthews daily, as in what this podcast is. I mean, all of this anti-vax talk and masks are good, masks are bad. Here's what's bad is the masks are on the ground. I think we can all agree on that. Masks as litter is definitely a problem we should all try and fight first, but that's me saying that. And this is A-Frame taking us out.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!